Welcome back to The Book People, where I interview people whose lives and careers revolve around books. I'm your host Aishwarya, and today we are going to talk about how books are taken to the screen. So, I'm a huge binge watcher, and in the last few years, we have seen so many great shows and movies come out of books, like Sacred Games, and Dash and Lily, and Good Omens. So, I'm here with Siddharth Jain. He's a book to screen expert who founded his own company based on 18 years of experience as a producer. So, in 2 years, his company, which is called The Story Inc., has become the number one story company and he has taken more than 140 books to screen, including, and this is my favorite, Chitra Banerjee Divakaruni's The Last Queen. So, we're going to break down this whole adaptation process and talk about how book to screen is the next big thing in India. But before we do that, if you're a writer who's trying to develop your own book or write your own story idea, you can check out our writing mentorship program that can guide you through the process. And if you've already written your dream book, you can check out our editing services to help you get that book publishing ready. But for now, let's get back to Siddharth and let's see what he has to say about book to screen. Let's dive in. Hi, Siddharth. Thank you so much for coming on board. And obviously, you founded in 2018. You founded Story Inc., which you call India's first story company. So I would love to know how you sort of took that decision to start this company, and what was your thought process behind it?
So, firstly, thank you for having me on the show. Really excited to be part of this.
Yes.
Um, well, I started this company uh, primarily because I figured that there's a problem in terms of everybody's looking for a story. And I've been sensing this problem since a decade. But at that time, there was no OTT. And so there was this daily soap of films. And
Yeah.
I used to run a development company then. And we should develop stories and projects for our own use. But towards 2017, when I was just I just finished my 2 years in Hotstar. I figured that, with all the OTTs coming into the Indian ecosystem, there's lots of, money and opportunity floating around. The large production houses have access to most resources, but the resource that they most need is what to make and who will make it. There were already established, talent agencies in the business, and so there wasn't need for another one. But I thought nobody is solving the story problem for the producers and the directors and the whole industry at large. So it was just a whim, and I said okay. And the moment I figured that, I thought okay, let me start a story company. When I started the story company, I actually just put a post on Facebook, and all my friends, producers, studio executives started reaching out and said, "Oh, that's great. Can you help us find a story?" And then I was
Wow.
like, "Oh, this is too quick. I don't have stories." So then, so then I looked at books, and I thought, okay, because people don't read as much as they should, and I've always been a book person, so I started looking at books which are suitable for screen, and I started recommending. And 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 10 books, and now almost 100. I don't know. I lost count. 130, 140 books. I've sold the rights of for screen in the last 2 years. So it's sort of taken its own journey, its own form and shape, and its own story of the story.
That's amazing. But that you were able to sort of see that there was this demand out there, and because you had those connections already and you had those friendships, I think that helped you sort of kickstart your
For
business
sure.
so quickly. But in terms of the books aspect of it, like you just said, when you realize that okay, you have all these people asking you for stories, but where do you find the stories? How were
Hmm.
you able to reach out to, like, did you reach out to authors, did you reach out to publishing houses? How were you able to connect to that aspect of the industry?
So I'll be very honest and frank, like I always am. I started reaching out to publishers, but I didn't get any cooperation from the publishers. Very few, because publishers were like, they didn't understand this business.
Hmm.
Their revenue from screen rights was hardly anything. As per what I knew, I mean, they used to do maybe 3, 4 totally was the total number of deals that used to happen in a year. So when I reached out, they were not sure how serious this is, because they've always got a lot of inquiries, but nothing happen to those inquiries. So I then stopped chasing the publishers, and I started seeking out books which I thought were interesting. I reached out to those authors. Most of the authors that I reached out to, fortunately, control their own rights. And I started with representing the authors. I reached out to some literary agents, and even they had a very kind of a mediocre response to this opportunity. So basically, I started with authors, and the moment I, did 5 deals for 5 authors, word spread, and then authors started coming on their own. And now I barely have to reach out to an author. Most authors reach out to me. I'm in a pretty fortunate spot in that way. And now life is easier. Now I've got a larger problem. Too many stories coming to me. How do I pick the ones that work for screen? So it's kind of a bit lopsided now.
That was actually going to be my next question, which was, because there are so many stories out there. And I
Hmm.
also read that, you obviously like you go to publishers, you go to authors who have published through traditional
Hmm.
publishing, through publishers, but you also really like to look at self-published authors. So when there is such a huge volume of books being published, how are
Hmm.
you able to sort of find what you're looking for? And what is it that you're looking for? What do you look for in a book?
See, I look for those things in a book that a producer is looking for in a book. And it's not about the book, right? It's about the story.
Yes.
uh, the most important aspect in our business is how to pitch, what to pitch, who to pitch, when to pitch. And the key pillars of any story pitch, right, is the title of the story, the cover of the book, the synopsis, and the log line, the hook of the story.
Yes.
So I don't really need to read the entire book to figure whether it's suitable for screen or not. I can just look at the title, synopsis, and I can quickly make that decision whether this will work for screen or not. And then once I shortlist the ones that work for screen, then I dive into those books in greater detail to figure out, is it good for a film? Is it good for a series? Is this the right time to pitch the story, or should the story be pitched next year, later? So, it's my own instinct. And because I've been doing story and script development since 17, 18 years now. So I understand what it takes to take an idea to screen and what ideas make it to screen. What are the hurdles that ideas and stories will face? So I try and use all of that experience and instinct and make my own calls, which are driven by primarily gut. I don't have any database. I don't have any formula. There's no artificial
Yeah.
intelligence at play. So there's no,
Yeah.
like there are no fancy things that I use. I just use my experience, instinct, knowledge, and just try and connect those dots.
I find stories something that are very interesting. And so I love that you've been able to capture that. And I liked what you said about how it's instinctive, how your decision about whether a story will can be converted into something for the screen is very instinctual, because I think that's also how readers pick books, right? How readers decide which book to read. Because I know we
Hmm.
say don't judge a book by its cover, but we very much judge books by its covers. That's why the covers exist, right? And it also made me think of how what you're doing is very similar to what I would say like a commissioning editor does, right? Because even within publishing, pitching is so important. When
Yeah.
authors submit their pitches to publishing houses in order for their books to get published, they're definitely looking at, they're doing the exact same things, right? They're looking at the hook, they're looking at the title, they're looking at, is this the right time to publish this book, and how do we publish this book, and will it work? So I love that there are these parallels between how those two industries work, and at the same time the um, what works in the two industries can be very different.
So I think most publishers are clueless when it comes to what will work for screen. They keep focusing on their literary books and bestsellers, which actually might not be suitable for screen. So there's a big divide in the two worlds because the audiences are different. The most
Yeah.
avid readers may not be the most avid streamers. So there is a distinction there, and hence there's been a big gap between our industries in India, between the publishing and the content industry. all these years.
So are there, you're saying literary books might not do that well on screen, but are there certain genres or types of stories that you think do well on screen?
So that's like staple crime, real stories. Uh, all of those things are the lower hanging fruit,
Mm-hmm.
and then you've got the other genres which are sort of playing catch up. For example, horror. There isn't too much in horror in the publishing world, in India, and
Yeah,
it's usually it's just different kinds of thrillers, lots of thrillers.
because I remember reading an article in which you had also mentioned thrillers, and I think you had mentioned romance is also sort of as well.
So romance is difficult because if you see, romance are primarily dramas, right? Love dramas.
Yes.
They don't have the simpler binge hooks in their stories, right? So they work more for movies. And then to drag our audiences in movies, you need to have their favorite stars with the popular music. So in the book,
Yes.
story is always not the best format to pick from. But yeah, but I think for series, love romance has been a very, very slow uptake. But for films, there is potential. But now in this world of COVID, I don't know how soon we'll be back in the theaters and how soon that business will thrive again.
Yeah, that's true. I was also thinking of, for me personally, I've really gotten into speculative fiction through watching series or watching Netflix. But because I started watching a lot of these shows, like Good Omens or Dirk
Hmm.
Gently, and that got
Hmm.
me into reading more speculative fiction. I think it's so interesting how there's this kind of symbiotic relationship where obviously um, shows or series or movies need stories or content from books oftentimes to work, but also when a book gets adapted into a series or a movie, that also really helps the book out. I mean, that increases the sales of the book, or that sort of boosts the publishing industry. So you would think
Yeah.
that they would work more in tandem, as two industries that can help each other out, but they don't.
But see, that's exactly the opportunity. There's, it's such a tremendous opportunity to find a way to collaborate between both these two very diverse worlds, and that's what I'm trying to do. My whole goal and focus is really to find ways to get deeper collaboration. The biggest hurdle I always face in the movie industry, people are really flexible. They're fast. They are more enterprising. The publishing industry is really slow, very sluggish to change. They have very fixed ways of thinking, and the challenge more is, I have to spend a lot of energy in trying to work with them to look at the opportunity. And it's really easy on the media side, actually. Bombay, especially Bollywood, is very, very, I mean, at least I find it really easy to work with them. And
Hmm.
it's kind of, it's not a challenge at all. The friction spot, places are really, really few. But I just hope that the publishing industry can wake up and really look at the potential, because there is only limited talent in the movie business, in the content business. So we need more writers, we need more storytellers, and publishers are, they're a great source for us to find writers and authors. So it's a tremendous opportunity of the decade, actually. I would say, between 2020 and 2030, we
Yeah.
can really make a very, very big leap if we are all aligned on this journey.
But we don't really see any other organizations or people also doing the same. I mean, bluntly asking, how are you successful where others aren't yet?
So, firstly, I think a lot of people are trying to do what I'm doing, especially in the last 1 year. Lots of people are doing this. So, but I just think that there are two things, right? They look at this as an opportunity. For me, I didn't look at this as an opportunity. It's something that I am very passionately excited to solve a problem. For me, when I started this, the business model didn't make sense. Till date, it really does not make sense. But because this is not my primary source of revenue in the story company, uh, it works for me, because uh, the fee from placing books is not much. So that's not a business model that works. So people are trying only to figure, oh, this is not as lucrative as we think. But what I think two differently is that most companies look at this as an agency commission business, and they have agents, who work, reach out to authors and then to publishers and producers, share
Mhm.
catalogs, share book lists, and that's what they do. I don't do that. I don't have a list. If you'll ask me, oh, is there a list or catalog of the Story Inc? I don't have a single list. What I do is a very personal, curated boutique solution that I find for a producer, which is a story solution to his content strategy. So if a producer comes to me, I understand that producer's world. I know what talent he has access to, what opportunity he wants to tap into. I understand his business because I know that business. And then I
Mhm.
use my mind as a producer because I've been a producer since 17, 18 years, a development producer. Then I use that layer to find the right story that will serve his content strategy. And I then help him also find the right writers to adapt it, the right director, maybe even help him get the funding from studios or OTTs. So I handhold them through the whole process as a producer, as a creative producer, as a consulting producer. So it's a very different approach from an
Yeah.
agency and to what I do.
So, what does a day or a week for you look like?
Oh, it's really exciting. My days are so exciting. I mean, touch wood.
Please share.
I I mean, for me, I wake up with, okay, what stories am I going to get in my new inbox? Every day I get new emails in my inbox. So I
Can
check
I
the
ask
new story.
how many stories or books do you end up reading in a day or a week?
So, you know, I don't get time to read too many books. I'm very selective about the books that I can read and I actually end up reading. But I read a lot of story synopsis and story summaries, plot summaries. Because for me, it's very important to first read a plot summary. And only the plot summary works when I actually read the book. Otherwise, I can't read the book. It's because that's how also, your producers are. They like to read a synopsis, a log line, a summary. If this works, then you read the book. So I end up
Yes.
reading maybe two to three, four stories a day, new stories a day. A lot of my time actually goes in um, talking to producers, about uh, what they're up to, their development, their projects in development. How can I help
Mhm.
them? Giving feedback on stories that are being written based on books. So I would say about 80% of my time goes in the actual process of helping producers take a book to screen. 20% goes in reading new material. And primarily, I've got a call either with the producer or an author or another writer or a director.
Yes.
And I'm just talking story all day. It's so much fun. So it's just story, story, story. Uh, some business work, of course, agreements are important in our business. But primarily,
Yeah.
my day is actually a lot of fun. I can't complain. Then I actually also watch content because that's also part of work. So I have to go and stream a show on Netflix, and I call that work. I have to go and watch a movie, and it's work. So it's a lot of hard work
Yeah,
watching
I think
things.
it's the best of both worlds. You get to read and you get to watch things and
Read
not
and
feel guilty
watch.
about either.
Actually, I can overdose that, right? I can overdose on
Yeah.
reading and watching, and actually pat my back. Good job done today.
Yes,
But
working
yeah.
overtime.
So it's fun. I mean, I have no complaints.
But do you read for pleasure? What do you like to read?
Oh, for pleasure, personally, I read only nonfiction. It's very
Only
strange.
nonfiction?
I usually read nonfiction, autobiographies, and yeah, because I love to read about people and their journeys and personal experiences. So whether it's Reed Hastings or it's Warren Buffet or it's Peter Lynch, anybody. I mean, business books and all kinds of life journeys.
Do you think you like reading nonfiction for pleasure because you're reading so much fiction for work?
No, I've always been, reading when I was a kid comic books, and after comic books, I just straight graduated to autobiographies of people. So nonfiction has always been my go-to genre. And fiction, I like fiction, but it's just that non-fiction is more exciting because I know those people. So if I know Steve Jobs and I want to see how his life was,
Right.
so it's really inspiring, and I love to see how people navigate their lives and how they do it with so much of hardship and hurdles, because from the outside we only get to know of them when they're really successful, but then when
Yes.
you read about them, you really know, that's not how it is. And for me, that's always fascinating to see how different people have succeeded in so many different ways. So there's no formula. There's no,
Yes.
I'll do this and I'll reach here. So everybody has a different journey. And I really find that really fascinating. For me, the craft of writing screenplay is
Mm-hmm.
more important to understand and know and read. So I will probably read more scripts than read books, or more plot summaries and more of episodic arcs, and a different format of stories is actually what I read more than books.
So when you do pick a book to be adapted, how does that work? What are sort of the next steps that happen once the book is chosen?
So once I find a book that I like and I think is good for screen, I
Mhm.
first think who is the right producer for this. So I operate like a very uh, high profile shadi.com, you know, matchmaker, like Simi
Who
Auntie
is the
from the show
perfect
from Netflix.
match? Yes.
Yeah, it was the perfect match. So I take great pride in connecting the dots. So if a producer reaches out to me, only then will I think, what is the right story for him. But if I find a book which I think is great, I will keep that book with me. And i- if I think that Mr. X is the right producer, only then will I call that producer and say, what, here is this story for you. Have a look. So I don't like when, I miss the target. So like the first 100 books, I may have pitched 110 books and I have sold 100 books. So my strike rate is very high because I'm very, very um, cognizant of the fact that a producer will not, I don't want to waste his time to read material, and I don't want to be like anybody else. Because see, uh, one can go to any publisher and ask for the catalog, go through the catalog and find a story for themselves. But that's the effort that I save the producer, right? So
Right.
for me, it's very, very important to curate and give them a solution, a 5-minute solution. So it's really, once that book is found, the story is found, then I
Mm-hmm.
find the producer. And once the producer is found and then a deal happens, after that is when I also help them find the right screenplay writer, the right director, who will be excited to work on that story, and it'll help his career also to create something like this for screen. So it's
Right.
it's it's right
So
through,
it's
step by step.
several steps of matchmaking in a sense.
Yes,
It's not
several
just
steps. Yeah,
book
absolutely.
to
It's not one. No.
producer, but it's also these sort of almost creating that team of people who would be perfect for that particular
Yes,
story. So that's what
absolutely.
I think I was wondering, which is that once a book is selected, is there sort of a screenplay writer that comes in and converts that book into a screenplay and then it sort
Yeah,
of goes.
because for a screenplay, the most primary important thing, other than so many, the plot and characters, also it's made of action and dialogue, action and dialogue.
Yes.
In a book, you can you can go inside the head of the character. He's thinking this, and then you can meander. On screen, you
Yeah.
can't. Something has to move all the time. Every second there is movement, and
Yes.
there is regular dialogue in between that movement. So writing for screenplay is a completely different skill, craft, format, expertise, which needs to. So that is where the big kind of challenge lies, is spotting stories which are in the form of books, which need not always have action and dialogue in your face, but to figure, will this be able to convert really well when we turn it to screenplay for action and dialogue.
So I am a writer as well, and I have been writing for a really long time. When I had to
Right.
write a screenplay for a class in my undergrad, which was screenwriting, and I had to write a screenplay, I had a very, very difficult time writing it because
Hmm.
it is a very different format. And if it is not something that you're used to, it's very difficult to not go into how characters are thinking and go into the
Right.
character's head and just stick to action and dialogue, like you said, and follow
Yeah.
that format. I'm thinking of this. I think it recently came out as a Netflix movie. It's a book. I am thinking of ending things. That's the name of the
Hmm.
book by Ian
Yeah.
Reid,
Yeah.
and that is an extremely literary book. Like I mean, it's horror, but it's a book that really is capturing what is happening in the characters' minds. And I'm very surprised that a movie, like a book like that, got made into a movie, even though it is very sort of.
Yeah, but it is a terrific film. I saw, how it was made, superbly directed and written, and it does go into that. That's why I would call it more of an art house film. I'll
Hmm.
call it more for niche audiences. It's not for everybody, and so is the book. So I think
Yes,
it can work, it does work, but then it's a different approach. It's a different filmmaker. It's very filmmaker driven because not all filmmakers have the craft and the expertise to tell stories. You know those
right.
kind of stories in the way that they do.
Yes,
It's a
definitely.
unique skill.
So, currently, how many pitches or submissions do you receive on a daily basis from writers, authors?
I get about, I would say, on an average 40, 50 a month. So maybe like an average of at least one a day on average, more than one. New. So
So,
it's a
what
lot.
stands out? Yes, no, it is a lot. What
Yeah.
stands out to you in a pitch, or what makes a good pitch,
The
according to you?
title, the title is very important. Secondly, I said the blurb or the synopsis, the 5 lines. And so if those two things work, and then I would read a more detailed plot summary. But for me, the title and synopsis is really the most important parameter. It's also how audiences decide to buy a book. They
Yeah.
look at the cover, they'll check the blurb and see if it's for them. We look at a trailer and a poster and we decide whether we want to watch the show or a film or not. So those things are very important because they they have to survive the whole journey. And at the end, you're still selling the title and the synopsis to the audience in the form of a trailer and a poster. So if that doesn't work, then it's very difficult to make other things work. But if that works, then it gives us more fuel and more energy and more power to then put the other elements into place.
Do you see the pandemic affecting or changing the way that, or the kind of books that are adapted for screen?
Mm, I'm
Like,
not sure
are
about the kind.
consumers consuming content differently?
See, consumer habits will always evolve. Maybe with the pandemic, they're getting more and more used to streaming content on demand from wherever they are instead of going out. So that's on the habit side. But also, the pandemic is also been where people have watched and consumed maximum content like ever, right? Compared to the
Yes.
last so many years. So there is peak demand, but the supply has been choked because shoots had to be stopped. The theaters are still shut. So there is a big crisis in the industry that we're going through. And because of the crisis, any financial crisis leads to uh, people don't take as much risk. They become very cautious. They don't want to start too many new projects in development. So the industry will go through a slowness, and I've already been experiencing that in the last few months. The book to screen deals are drastically lower, and but that's I was expecting that to happen. So so I think the next year will be tough in terms of volumes, and it's more important to focus on the projects that are already in the pipeline.
But are you also seeing more content about the pandemic? I mean, I personally have been avoiding all content related to the pandemic whatsoever, but there are, books coming out about the pandemic,
Hmm.
like a short story series by Udayan Mukherjee, and other books as well, which are talking about sort of the experiences of the pandemic and what that has been like.
Or
Do
those
you
kind of
see?
stories. No,
Yes.
so I don't focus on those as much because for me, the pandemic is not yet over. So we don't
Hmm.
know how it's going to pan out and how, at what point will you say it's over, and now we can reflect back and summarize what happened, right? Kind of take stock. B, anything in screen, no? If you have to look at something, by the time it will reach screen, it will be 2 to 3 years from now. So it's very difficult to think that, oh, this pandemic might be of great interest 2 or 3 years from now to audiences.
Right.
So unless it's a short film, short story that can be made in the next 2, 3 months, then it's fine.
Mhm.
But I think if anything which is going to be of greater impact, uh, is a little too early. Also, I haven't really come across a terrific story set during the pandemic, which I think deserves to go to screen.
Okay,
So,
that was going to be my next question. Are you receiving submissions and stories related to the pandemic?
few, very few, and if authors ask me, I don't encourage that, because I don't encourage following a short-term trend. I feel that as a storyteller, you have to stick to your roots, tell stories which are most unique to you, and they are your original voice. Don't don't fall prey to short-term trends and things which are in vogue right now.
I mean, I agree with you about the short-term trends thing. I don't know if I would call the pandemic a short-term trend, but it
Well, if the
seems pretty
vaccination
long-term in terms of its
succeeds, the
impact.
whole, yeah, of course. But it's like people don't like, today if somebody will say let's make a film on demonetization, like, uh, that can't
Right.
be the hook, right? It can't be the hook.
Yeah.
The hook will be who are the characters and what's happened to them, what's the plot, what's the story. So I
Hmm.
think these incidents will come and go. For example, if you look at the story of the Titanic, it's the story of the characters. It's a love story that works. It's not the ship sinking. That's also
Right.
important. But if it was a badly written love story, it would have been a waste sinking
Right.
that ship.
I think that's a great analogy. Like the pandemic being like the sinking ship, right? Because it's almost the setting, or
Hmm.
the it's the context in which the story happens, but it can't be the hook of the story.
Yeah, absolutely.
What have you been reading or watching for pleasure during the pandemic?
Hmm.
Do you see your habits change or your preferences?
No, my life is exactly the same. My schedule is the same. I generally don't meet people, and I don't socialize. I don't network. I don't go out enough. So I used to only go out. The only thing that is missing from my life is traveling, because I would travel to all kinds of lit fests and film
Right.
festivals, around the world. So that's gone. So, but otherwise, my life is pretty much the same. Thankfully, I'm a very introvert person, kind of a person.
I was just going to say that, there are these jokes about how for introverts this has been life as usual because they
Yeah,
like it
exactly.
this way. They like not
Absolutely.
going out or meeting people or doing anything. I used to think I was an introvert, but this lockdown has changed my mind because I miss going out. I
Hmm.
miss talking to people. So it's
Yeah.
been, I
So
find,
I anyway talk to people all the time. So, I'm not missing
right,
that.
your work, so much of your work is talking to
Yeah.
people,
Like
managing
for
people.
me, fortunately, because, my work involves primarily development of stories, working with writers, who are anyways working from home,
Yes.
all the time. So for me, all through the pandemic, touchwood, uh, I've had more work than I can handle. And so because of that, my hours of reading and streaming have remained constant. They haven't gone up. And I just, yeah, so I'm kind of okay. But I
So
see people
for,
around me,
mhm,
they've been obviously reading more than reading, streaming. I think, India is a streaming country.
yes.
And the amount of content that India and Indians have consumed is phenomenal. And that's great. And that's great for the business. That's great for all storytellers.
Okay, so because we were talking about, writing screenplays versus writing for books. For writers that want to write for screen, I know that writing a book and then hoping it gets adapted to screen is a very long-winded process and dream to have. But what would you recommend, or what would you suggest? What is a better way for writers to get their stories out?
So I think some writers have a knack for writing for screen, some don't. So I know a bunch of writers who are authors who've who started writing for screen 2 3 years ago. They've practiced, they've honed their skill, they've learned the techniques, the structures, they've read on how to write for screen, they've written for screen, and the only process is to write and try and not give up, because it is a different skill that one has to create. Create like develop within themselves, and only do it if you're really good at it, and if you are organically,
Right.
you get the format. If not, don't force fit it. So a lot of authors talk to me about writing for screen. I tell them to give it a shot, you know write an episode, write your book as a film script, see if it
Mhm.
works, and if it works, if the results are good, and if you show potential, then just practice. Sometimes it might take you a couple of years of practicing, and then you kind of are ready to be a professional screenwriter. But it's not easy. It's a different craft.
What is one thing that you think needs to change in publishing? This can be over the next year, this can be like long term. But what is one thing that you think publishing needs to change in order to sort of adapt with the times or be relevant?
I think being open to understanding how the media business operates, and to be flexible and open to closer collaboration, to and not be greedy. Because what's happened is that suddenly they think there's huge amount of money. They don't understand the business. Their expectations
Mhm.
are unreal. They're not the very easy to work with sometimes, and that creates hurdles. So I think being of an open mind to really build this as a long-term source of revenue for them, and not treat it like a short-term spurt, and let me get as much money as I can, and that's my goal. So that attitude,
Right.
if that shifts, I think there's a lot of long-term wealth creation for the publishers, the authors, and the filmmakers, everybody. The whole ecosystem has to grow, and not kill each other. you know
Yes.
we can't destroy the ecosystem, right? So we have to water it. We have to uh, work together to make the ecosystem grow, and that growth needs the right intent, attitude, approach, and then it can happen.
That also made me think about language because
Hmm.
I think when we talk about publishing in India, when we talk about
Yeah.
stories, we usually talk about stories in English, right? So
Hmm.
when you are reading pitches or stories, or when you're pitching, not pitching, when you're
Hmm.
recommending,
Looking at material, yeah.
yes, stories to producers, do you also look at non-English language stories?
It's difficult, right? Because in the movie business in Bombay is a very cosmopolitan city, and
Yeah.
every production house, there are people from across the country who've come here to work. Somebody's from Chennai, somebody's from Calcutta, Delhi, Bombay, Hyderabad. So the
Mhm.
single language that people find most easy to read material in is English. That's why most Hindi film scripts are written in English till at the last stage when you write dialogue in Hindi. So
Right.
English really is the language that is common between everybody to read, evaluate, give feedback, and consider. So if I get a book in a regional language, for
Mhm.
Hindi, it's very difficult. But say maybe a Tamil book for a Tamil film in Chennai can work. But sitting in Bombay, it's very difficult to evaluate material that's not in English.
What about Indian stories, but for an international market?
It's a very small window of opportunity. You know, most of these shows that uh, go to screen from the West. So whether it's Q&A, which became Slumdog Millionaire, or A Suitable Boy, or
Yeah.
Sacred Games. These are books of authors who were their books, made a mark internationally, and they found agents in Hollywood or in London, and through those agents, the book reached production houses there. But
Right.
otherwise, it's not really like it's not a common thing for international producers to look for Indian books over here.
Yeah. I
Hmm.
think within India, it's still a pretty growing market. It's still nascent. And so, what are your plans for the future with the Story Inc. or just for yourself?
Well,
What's next?
we this year we also moved into co-productions. So we've got almost 20-25 books in development for screen, under the co-production model. wherein we are also part producers. And the whole idea is to uh, make the process of a book to screen more efficient, more productive, and push for more and more producers to look at books as a source of story, because there is a ready story. So the goal remains the same: is to solve the story problem for the screen industry,
Mhm.
and find as many new, original writers and original voices that we can bring into the screen world, and then take those stories to a wider audience through shows and films.
I think that sounds great. So now I just have a couple of questions. These are going to be more fun, rapid fire kind of questions.
Okay.
If you can answer those. Okay. So the first is books or Netflix?
Books.
One book that you would love to see on screen.
A book that I'm involved in, House of Jaipur,
Okay.
because I think it's like the crown of India.
Okay. Nice. A book that you're not involved in, but you would like to be. Like a book that you would love to take to the screen.
Hmm. Well, I kind of enjoyed A Suitable Boy, and I would have loved to be part of that process. And William Dalrymple's book, uh, his previous book, I think, is going to screen. I would have loved to be a part of that as well. And like all of his books. So I'm not involved in any of his books, but I think
Yeah,
I love reading all of his books. So I would love to be part of his books in some way.
that's great. So thank you so much, Siddharth, for coming on the show.
Thank you so much, and it's been a pleasure talking to you.
So that was Siddharth Jain talking about how his job is basically to be a matchmaker between books and the screen. He has made some really bold predictions about where publishing and book to screen are headed by 2030, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how it all pans out. So, this series is brought to you by Bound, a company that helps you tell your stories. You can find us at Bound India on our social media platforms, and you can check out the video version of this series on our YouTube channel at Bound India. And one thing that I really want to know is, what is your favorite book to screen adaptation? You can let us know in the comments, or you can DM us on our social media platforms. But we're dying to know what you think about book to screen adaptations. For more predictions about the publishing industry, you can check out our free research document on demystifying Indian publishing. And if you're looking to get your work publishing ready, you can check out our writing mentorship program and our editing services. The links for all of these are in the description below. Thank you for tuning in to The Book People. I'm Aishwarya, and I'll be back next week with a new guest and a new question to explore. Until then, keep reading.